Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video. This is something that I definitely need to talk about, and something that is worrying a lot of people. However, I don't think it should be a batten down the hatches type of situation as far as Valve rewriting the disclosure of AI use and their policy on that. I think a lot of people are doom posting a little bit on this, and it's not as bad. However, I know AI is a very sensitive topic, and in a lot of regards way out of my pay grade. I definitely understand how AI can be implemented well in terms of efficiency and utilizing AI in terms of optimizing the game development process and even streamlining it a little bit. I think most people are in agreement. The generative AI stuff is what is a very big slippery slope, especially when it comes to affecting people and their livelihoods. That's the one thing that I am very much against, when generative AI is being used and it's taking away from jobs. And obviously, every publicly traded company, and bear in mind, Steam is not a publicly traded company, they're a private company, but every publicly traded company wants to tell their shareholders, yes, we are definitely going to be utilizing AI. AI is going to streamline this process, and it is a way to ultimately impact your bottom line to a great degree, because if you can eliminate jobs that AI can take care of, well, you're spending a lot less money then. That's ultimately how these publicly traded companies work, and that is what they care about. How are the decisions that they make going to impact their shareholders? It's an unfortunate reality, but I don't gotta explain that to you guys. But as noted on Video Games Chronicle, Valve has significantly rewritten Steam's guideline for how developers must disclose the use of generative AI in all of their video games. As spotted by Game Discover co-host Simon Carlos, Valve has made it clear that AI-powered tools such as code helpers do not require a disclosure, and that efficiency gains through the use of AI-powered dev tools is not focus of its effort. The first two of the two types of AI use is that developers will have to disclose is AI to generate content for the game, whether that is within the game on its store page or in marketing materials. Absolutely, that should be prevalent, because I think more information is always good, and in that case, I think that is the information that is very relevant to people's beliefs in terms of utilizing AI, so people can work on their projects more efficiently. I don't think there's a problem on that. When AI is being used to generate content that in the past there would be literal people hired to create said content, I think that's what most people have an issue with. On top of that, the second that Valve will require disclosure is AI content generated during gameplay, and whether the game is question generates AI-created images, audio, text, and other content. And I don't necessarily think that having this content ultimately means that a game is going to be a failure, or having AI-generated content ultimately means that a game is a failure. However, I think having that information publicly available to the customer is very important. Look, different customers have different beliefs on how AI should be implemented in games, or the utilization of AI, and I think some people would want absolutely every drop of information that is available. If a game is using AI for efficiency's sakes, I want that available as well. I can understand Valve going the halfway point, because at some point I do think AI is just going to be utilized across the board in terms of efficiency's sakes. Maybe some games will go the direction absolutely zero AI, but if it does optimize the development process, which has gotten so long, but me saying that, you can also make the argument to push back. Well, Mush, you complain about game development cycles getting so long. You know how you can shorten that game dev cycle? By utilizing generative AI and creating the content at a drop of a dime, or ideally at the drop of a dime that other people would have to work to do it. There's obviously a balancing act here. As much as I want the game dev cycle to shorten, I am not in favor of people losing their jobs in the form of AI becoming so prevalent. And maybe utilizing AI in any case, even the form of it helping with efficiency, that is going to cause for people to lose jobs. Look, I don't know the game development processes ins and outs like that, but I do know the generative AI. I'm not saying, like I'm not here to be the one true person to say, oh, generative AI needs to be put down, because ultimately different people have different beliefs. At the end of the day, I want that information to be publicly available and be visible to everybody. That's what I care about, and then ultimately people can make their own individual decisions. I'm not here to stop anybody from buying any game. If that's what you see fit, if you want to buy a game that has generative AI, or you don't want to buy a game, that's ultimately your decision to make, but It's on Steam to make sure that information is readily available to you. That's where I mostly come at it. Since 2024, Valve has required developers to disclose on Steam whether generative AI was used in the creation of their games. This then appears on the game store page in a section called AI-generated content disclosure. It's a little bit lower on the store page, but it's there and it's publicly visible for games. In July 25, an analysis found that nearly 8,000 titles released on Steam in the first 6 months of 2025 had disclosed the use of generative AI compared to around 1,000 during the entirety of 2024. However, although Steam requires games that use generative AI in their development to disclose the use, such disclosures are voluntary, so the actual number of games created using Gen AI is likely higher than the 8,000 figure. According to last year's Game Developer Conferences survey, a majority of developers reported working at companies that utilize generative AI tools. However, as usage has gone up, curiosity has gone down. 9% of developers surveyed said that their companies were interested in generative AI tools, down from 15% last year. 27% said their companies had no interest in using them, a 9-point increase from 2024. So, obviously, anything with AI is going to be a landmine, and even something like this, Valve going in this direction, ultimately, a lot of people think that's going to lead Valve to go even beyond on that, and at some point generative AI might be something that isn't required to be disclosed on Steam pages, and we'll see if it ultimately gets there. I know from a customer standpoint, AI right now is something that a lot of customers hate, given the price points of a lot of things that have been impacted due to AI use, and if you're talking about jobs also getting lost, like, it's just a crap show in a lot of regards. I do also want to bring up the Tim Sweeney post that, unfortunately, I don't think this was the best post in the world. This was back in November of last year, but in terms of Steam's disclosure, he noted, why stop at AI use? We could have mandatory disclosures for what shampoo brand the developer uses. Customers deserve to know. LOL. I get that it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but come on, man. You gotta know that's not a great post to be making. Information that is relevant to what customers want. I don't think customers really care that much about what shampoo brand developers use, unless their shampoo brand's doing whatever practices. But in terms of what's relevant to the actual game development, I think customers want to know. Is it a platform and a storefront absolute that they have to let the customers know about this? No, but I'm sure customers genuinely appreciate when the storefront is requiring developers to make that information transparent. What's wrong with transparently available information? There's nothing wrong with that. If that helps customers make buying decisions, there shouldn't be anything wrong with that, of just having that information be available. People spend money on their games, have more information be available. What is wrong with that? And especially when it's relevant to game development. I get that he's joking, but again, this type of statement, it's just like, dude, you're just saying outlandish stuff to put down what other people feel, and I just hate that whenever there's a discussion point like this. Like, what relevance does this have? Again, I get that it's probably a joke, but in terms of actually having a discussion about what disclosures should be available, I just think that's a lot of nonsense. But let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Interested to hear what you guys think. Again, I'm not here to absolutely start saying that this is the be-all, end-all of, Steam and their disclosures. Hopefully they keep the relevant disclosures still a requirement, and hopefully developers do abide by that. But let me know all of your thoughts. I do think generative AI is going to be utilized in games, and it's going to be something more and more games do explore, and more publishers do explore, and it's about actually seeing these games come out. Like, a lot of this has blown up over the last couple of years. Games are deep into their dev cycles around this time of AI being implemented, so you could look at the games coming out now and be like, oh, AI is not that, well, what happens in the games a couple years from now? And you're already seeing it with, like, big games like Call of Duty and Battlefield utilizing, generative AI in terms of emblems and things of that nature, which is nonsense. But let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.